Okay, so earlier this week I asked 7 of my senior friends to participate in a panel where they would answer questions from freshmen at my school. And so I had never really done anything like this before, so I didn't really know what to expect. But for the most part, I was really impressed by how serious they all took it. Actually, I kind of this is a good problem to have, but basically as a result we ended up filming longer than I expected. It was over half an hour, and so now I'm going to have to make 2 parts to this video, or a second part to this video. So there's going to be part 1, which is today, and then part 2, which will come out next week. But yeah, rather than having one long half an hour video, this is what I'm going to do. Basically, my hope is that this video will give students who are genuinely curious about high school experiences specific answers to questions about college, what parties are like, how to ask someone to a dance, relationships, anything having to do with your high school experience. Okay, so without further ado, the first question the freshmen wanted to ask was, how should they manage their time when they're doing homework or just like spending time with friends in general?
Okay. Well, I mean, I feel like a big part of it is organization, and making sure that you find a system that works for yourself and sticking to it, whether that be using a agenda in the physical, or using something online, or just writing something on your computer in notes for homework. Making sure the papers you receive from teachers are put in folders or saved in a certain area on your laptop. And just for me, it's been staying organized has really helped me stay on top of my work.
I think for me, being able to prioritize different assignments definitely helps, because, for example, like an essay is going to be just worth more points than like one night of math homework. So I think trying to knock those things out first, and then you feel like really devoting a lot of time to like the intense assignments, and then doing the more like less intense kind of afterwards.
I'd also say try to, as best you can, like I definitely agree with prioritizing, like very clearly map out what you want to do in what order when you get home, or like throughout the day. And then also something that I haven't done but I've started to do in the last week that has really helped in this part of senior year is trying to plot exactly at what times you want to be doing what, or at least roughly at what times you want to be doing what. I know it's a system that others have used, and it definitely works, because there can be times when you're like watching a 10-minute YouTube video, turns into a 2-hour YouTube sesh, and that's, it's like where did the time go? But if you very specifically know, like, between 7 and 1:15, between 7 and 7:15, I want to be working on the initial stages of my PR. It really helps, especially for long-term things where kind of, they can fall to the wayside over time.
Cool. Does anyone else have like anything?
I would just say, like, as far as managing time goes, like, don't, like, especially on weekends or Fridays or whatever, like, decide, like, you're not going to worry about homework for a night or like 4 hours or whatever, and like go spend time with friends or stuff like that. Because, like, I don't know, once you're done with high school, you're not going to look back and be like, wow, I'm glad I finished all my history reading. So you're going to be like, yeah, I'm really glad I hung out with my friends, or like I went to the beach or whatever. And like, just make sure you're mixing in a lot of that time, because that's what you're going to remember.
You'll also create better work if you do that. Like, the quality of your work will increase if you allow yourself some time to be yourself or be with friends.
Okay, so I would say I agree with a lot of what the panel is saying, but I personally have always been an organized person, and so since middle school I have been keeping some type of planner or just something on my computer that helps me remember my assignments. But the best thing that has worked for me since middle school and high school has been keeping a planner like this one. And so just like writing down all my homework assignments after they're assigned to me in class, and being able to cross them off actually when I'm done, just to like kind of highlight actually crossing it off. It, like, the physical feeling of crossing something off when I'm completed it feels like really positive for me. So that's one of the reasons why I like to keep a physical planner. And so you can like, let's see if I have any examples. This is an example from today. I've done more homework, I just haven't really crossed it off yet, but you can see that I crossed off my pre-calc homework, and I'm probably gonna end up crossing off my video. It should be over. Yeah, see, my video's right here. So once I'm done with this, I get to cross it off. But yeah, so just get in the habit of sticking to something and not flipping back and forth between different planners. Yeah, just stay organized. It's really good. It helps manage your time really well.
No.
Bullshit. Yes.
All right, well, when you're a freshman, I don't think most people drink as much at parties. Yeah.
Okay, but I also feel like I must say that by the time I started to engage in parties, but like a fair amount of the people that I was with were drinking or smoking.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So
I
would
mean,
you say that it changed from freshman year?
Once it's
Like,
junior year.
junior year?
I think it
Yeah.
is the bigger change.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that I didn't attend that many parties per se freshman and sophomore year. By the time I started to attend parties, there's a certain connotation of a party with drinking or smoking. So
Well, and people who attend parties are also a small fraction of
Exactly.
the class. The people who don't go usually don't drink or smoke, but if you do go, you're kind of putting yourself in that environment.
yeah.
Yeah, and even in that environment, there's still a handful of people, or a fair amount of people that choose not to engage with that.
Yeah. And to that end, like, I don't feel like I personally haven't experienced a lot of peer pressure at Catlin. And if you say I'm not smoking tonight, or I'm choosing not to smoke, or the same thing with drinking, that people generally respect that opinion. And they might ask you like some questions like why you do that, but for the most part, in my experience, people have been really respectful, which has been good.
Yeah. And then also earlier on, I think that people also tend to mellow out a little bit. So I think that as you reach your junior and senior year, drinking and smoking does become more common, but people don't necessarily have to do it in excess all the time, because when you start drinking and smoking, I think it's more enjoyable to do it just like as much as possible, because you're kind of caught up in it and it's something new and exciting to do. But then not that it becomes the norm, but as you become more accustomed to the effects of alcohol and smoking, I think that some people do end up dialing it back a bit, and they'll drink a little bit, but they don't necessarily have to get drunk all the time.
Do not drink drive when leaving parties. You're just an asshole, and
Yeah.
everyone here knows that you're an asshole if you drink drive.
And also chances are there are usually people who will stay a designated driver at parties, so just wait for them.
You got Uber and you got
Uber,
Lyft.
yeah.
Like, just be smart.
So many options.
Okay, so a lot of people had different opinions about this. I would have to agree with Juma on his answer, just because I do think that a majority of people at parties do drink, but less people smoke than drink. And just to clarify, like smoking, we're talking about smoking weed. And I don't know, this didn't really start for at least my class until our junior year, and that's when we started going to parties with like the seniors. And yeah, it was just, we got into more of a habit of going to parties, and you started to notice more people drinking and just trying different things. But also a really important point that Juma brought up at the end is that it's really stupid to drink and drive or smoke and drive. If worse comes to worse, just spend the night at whatever house the party is at, or spend the walk to like your friend's house if it's close, and be safe, because it's not just your life that you're putting at risk, you're putting other people's lives at risk as well.
Not freshman
Yeah,
or
no.
sophomore year.
Yeah.
We say sophomore?
I don't even think
didn't.
sophomore.
Yeah.
Junior year is the time when even outside forces, it starts in your brain. But I don't even think it was that intense junior
Yeah.
year. I think senior year is kind of the year where you buckle down and you kind of have to think about college. But yeah, I'd say there's no pressure freshman or sophomore year to do so. I think you should just focus on school and getting your work done and friendships. Just focus on the now.
Yeah.
There's also,
Catlin
go ahead.
won't let you forget about college.
Yeah.
They're not going to let you forget to apply to college. They're not going to allow you to not meet with your college counselors. I mean, you do so much work in pods when you're a junior. Seniors are still doing work in pods. We are constantly having meetings about college, and we do have mandatory meetings with our counselors. So far as college, you really don't have to worry about it too much, because when you need to worry about it, they will let you know that it should be something that you should not even worry about it, but just something that you should be aware of.
One thing I can say is don't ever do anything for college, just because it leads to a very unhappy life and a very stressful life. I think that everything you do in school should be for your own, like your own personal benefit and your own personal desire to do that thing. And if it so happens that, you know, like it's something that you're gonna end up putting on your college resume, then that's good, but never do anything for college. And I definitely think that through your freshman and sophomore years, you know, keeping that in mind, like, don't be thinking about college and don't be stressing about college too much, but and also know that, like, you know, if you're not doing particularly well, colleges are looking for a pattern of growth throughout your high school career. So just because, you know, you got a bad grade in a freshman class does not mean, you know, your college dreams are going down the toilet or anything. You still have 4 more years. I mean, by the time that a college is looking to admit you, they're looking at your most recent self. So yeah.
I was pretty surprised by Bailey's answer, actually, just because I started thinking about college when I was in middle school. I think part of this was because some of my friends were being recruited to play lacrosse when they were in middle school, and lacrosse is definitely one of the earlier sports for recruiting. But yeah, that made me kind of start thinking. I was playing soccer at the time, so it made me start thinking about if I wanted to play soccer in college myself. And you know, for girls soccer, it starts our freshman year, so it was coming up pretty soon. So I think that's part of the reason why I started thinking about college so early on. But also another reason is because partly due to my family is one of the reasons. They hold really high expectations for me, as I think parents should, and I actually really appreciated it because I developed good habits such as staying organized and learning how to balance my schoolwork with soccer after school, and also just like keeping up with my grades and really focusing on getting good grades. Also, like, I did have a social life, like, don't get me wrong, but by practicing these good habits in middle school, my transition into high school, I feel, was a lot easier than some of my peers.
I know for Reagan and I, one really fun way is like combining the two and like studying with your friends or going to a coffee shop or a crepe shop and just sitting down and doing homework. It's really enjoyable because it is able to give you those like intellectual breaks where you can just sit and talk to your friend or like go on Instagram, but then you're able to be supported by somebody else to like continue your work.
I think that probably works for some people, but I have trouble doing work with friends, so I'll usually kind of leave Friday night and Saturday for friends, and the weekdays just for homework.
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much everyone struggles with like not doing too much of one or the other, like not doing too much homework and not enough time with friends, or the other way around. And I think like a big thing that like most people deal with is like using the time that they have to get stuff done. Like I find when I can like use a Saturday morning to get homework done, then like the rest of Saturday I can use like spend of time with friends. But like there's times where like I just don't get anything done Saturday, and then like I feel bad going out, or like I stay at home, and like so I just think using the time you have to get homework done so that you can take advantage of time with friends is pretty important.
I know that if I'm gonna work with friends, I would only do certain types of homework, like readings or math problems, or something that's like maybe reading an article, taking notes, watching a video, something that's a little bit easier, doesn't require too much like focus. But like when it comes to writing an essay or something like that, writing a lab report, I would do that at home by myself because I really need to buckle down.
So I don't usually hang out with friends after school during the weekdays just because I'll have practice until about 5:30, and then by the time I get home I will just like want to eat dinner, finish my homework, and go to sleep just because it will be like 6:15 when I get home. But yeah, I'm usually pretty tired by the end of the week. During the weekends though, I can relate to Luke and what he said just because I like to get as much done on Saturday mornings as I can and then leave the nighttime to go and hang out with friends, have a sleepover, go to a movie, anything like that. And then Sunday, I've lately been finishing my homework, reading the paper, but also spending time with my family and working on my college applications. And sometimes I even try to plan ahead for the next week just so, you know, it's a little bit less stressful for me in terms of all my homework assignments. So I might do like 1 or 2 of my homework assignments for Monday if I know that there's going to be a long reading or something like that.
Shit. Like everything. Everything changed. What the biggest change between freshman and senior year?
For me, it was my stress management. Freshman year, I could not leave the house after school. Like I felt I had to do every piece of homework, but I've noticed this year I'm much more okay with just being out during the week and doing something if I have to, because I just feel like I can manage the stress of coming home and doing the homework better. But it's a painful process to get through though, to get to that point.
Yeah, I feel like and I feel like going off of that, like I think just the biggest overall change is just having like a lot more freedom, and you have a lot more freedom in your classes and a lot more freedom to like drive and like go out in the middle of the night and like just, so you have a lot more freedom of choice, whereas freshman year everything's kind of set up for you, but senior year, yeah, I think freedom is the key word, at least for me.
Also just having like a really realistic outlook on life. I think like freshman year I was like the kid that like, you know, there's like a time where I got a 0 on a snowflake and I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. And in reality, like I don't even think my teacher considered that when making, when coming up with my grade. And like obviously, like if you fail every snowflake, then that obviously shows some things about comprehension. But teachers are looking for like trends and patterns in your learning, and just like I don't know. I feel like my biggest change between my own mindset freshman and senior year is just like I'm a lot more realistic about life right now. And in a way, I've kind of like de-stressed as a result of that. Yeah. De-stress the minor things.
And I think also I've talked to a couple people in the senior class about this, the transition between junior year to senior year in particular. You start feeling, or at least I started feeling differently about myself, and you become a lot more self-confident, and you don't really think about social things as often, and at least I felt a lot more assured in all the decisions that I've made, because you do get to know yourself pretty well in this 4-year span.
Okay, so lastly, for me, the biggest change has probably been being more confident in myself and actually having a sense of who I am and the role I play in my school's community. I also think that it's pretty common for friend groups to change between your freshman and senior year. So that's something that happened to me, but I think it worked out for the best just because I've learned who my real friends are, and I've been able to just invest my time into those relationships rather than having these fake relationships, which I kind of experienced during freshman year. That's it for part 1. Thank you for tuning into this video. Be sure to check back next week for part 2. That should be out on Sunday. And the panel will be talking about their regrets in high school, what they miss about high school, or what they're going to miss about high school, and how to ask people to dances. They'll also be giving freshmen, a message to freshmen and kind of a bit of advice for continuing on in high school. Anyways, I hope you were able to learn something about the seniors or senior year, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Bye guys.